We're in an empty Atlanta, so there's nobody here. The only reason I'm here is because I've been staying in a hotel in Atlanta after a failed evacuation from the Costa Luminosa. So I almost made it onto a flight. Well, actually I would have made it onto a flight, but I didn't feel like it was the right thing to do after being exposed and having virus all over my clothes, hair, everything. It's kind of like going into a plague area where you have all this, garb that you put on to protect you from it, and then you forget to take it off, and you go ahead and wander around in public. That just didn't seem to be an appropriate way to go. So I ditched my ticket in hopes of finding a hotel that I could quarantine in Atlanta. Was told that hotels weren't allowed to do that you had to go through the CDC. So we put in calls to the CDC. The New York Times reporter that's been helping me tried to get a hold of CDC as well. No luck. So I was going to rent a car and just sleep in the car that night and then drive back. And told that to the Delta lady. I turned to my ticket again. She said, "No, that's all right. We'll put you on a flight where you're seated away from the other passengers." But when I got on the plane, there was this person sitting beside me. So I was the last person to board. I made sure I was the very last person to board. There was a row of 3 seats in the back. So I went back and sat in those seats. And the stewardess got really mad. Asked me why I was back there. I told her the story, and that caused a huge incident. The captain refused to fly the plane. I was escorted off the plane. Everybody was escorted off the plane after me, told to go to another gate to board the same exact plane. And so they told me, they gave me a ticket for the next morning because CDC came and paramedics came and cleared me because I had no fever, no cough. And so basically they told me to keep my mouth shut, that if I told anybody where I was coming from or my story, that I would not be able to get on a flight. So I slept in the airport overnight, about 6 hours. But 6 hours of sleep in 72 hours actually did more harm than good. So when I woke up, my body stopped. It stopped working completely. I did not have the ability to control my legs, my arms. My speech was actually pretty messed up too. I couldn't open my eyes. It was like I was in a rocket ship and the rocket was going up and I was plastered to my bed. Like my whole body felt so heavy that I couldn't move it. And my mind, the really hard part was I couldn't open my eyes, but my mind was still working really well on the inside, which made me really scared because I was scared that if my body wasn't working but my mind was, and I could hear them saying stuff and I could hear them talking, and I got really scared that I would be trapped in my body, and if I died that I would still be able to see my body or whatever, or hear people even if I died. It was a really scary feeling, like I would be in a coffin somewhere. And that was really scary. So I don't know what that was exactly, but it was really scary. So anyway, I collapsed. I was taken by ambulance to the hospital, and when I was released about 12, 13, 14 hours later, I could move again. I could stand up. I was still really tired, but the 15, 14 hours or whatever helped a lot. But I still was not strong enough to even carry my backpack, really. So I ended up in a hotel. I was just going to stay for 2 days and then go out from there. But that didn't work. And I was still really tired. And long story short, I ended up having to quarantine in Atlanta. So I'm in self-quarantine. I'm allowed to go outside as long as I'm not around other people and as long as I'm not coughing or have a high fever or am showing acute signs of the illness. I was having difficulty breathing yesterday or day before yesterday, and I self-dosed myself with prednisone, which, by the way, is not recommended by doctors, but guess what? I feel really good today. I'm breathing better. My chest is not hurting, and I feel a whole ton better. So I'm not going to tell you to take prednisone, but you got to remember that they're telling you certain things because they want certain things. And if prednisone helps those people that would have died and makes them in the ICU a lot longer, they're taking up a bed. So just because somebody tells you that you're not supposed to do something, it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to do it because it's not in your best interest. Sometimes it means, I don't want you to do it because it's not in our best interest. And people are looking out for themselves, and they're looking out for the whole as a group. They're not necessarily looking out for you individually. So when you hear numbers on the news, you hear advice, that doesn't mean stop using your own brain to protect yourself. In fact, usually if they're doing mass campaigns about something, it usually means you need to start looking after your own health a little bit more closely, because they're doing what they want to do based on, how many people can they get in and out of the ICU, which I totally understand. But if you actually care about yourself as much as you care about everybody else, you're still going to protect yourself. So, and who knows, you protecting yourself, you could be the person that ends up saving millions of people later on down the road. So don't forget to put your own oxygen mask on first before you start helping others. And don't believe everything that you hear. I understand now why President Trump was saying that there's a lot of fake news out there. When you're the one that knows the truth and the reporters are getting the truth from you, and then they kind of stretch it or turn it or twist it so that it looks good to them, or it's what they want the public to hear, then you start to understand why you can't necessarily believe everything that everybody's telling you. So anyway, peace out. March 28th. I think it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.